Hey everybody, Erica Serwin here from Pink Buckaroo Designs. This week I'm all about fall. First day of fall is just in a couple of days, and I can tell you here in South Texas we're still in the upper 90s, so it's not fall here. But I just came back from Utah where we did a hike in the mountains, and it was most definitely beginning to look like fall. So I came home, couldn't wait to play with my new fall products. This is the Amber Autumn Suite. Actually, it's called Autumn Toile Suite after the paper, but the bundle, the stamps are called Amber Autumn. If you look in your new holiday catalog, starts on page 39. There's some beautiful inspiration. The paper I'm going to show you is gorgeous. I love paper, so I'm always saying the paper is gorgeous. I'm using the Amber Autumn bundle, but there's also the Autumn Trees bundle, which we'll get to in a few weeks, hopefully. The paper is usually we get 6 different double-sided patterns. This time you get 4 different double-sided patterns, but you're getting 3 of each. So like 3 of the same. And this is what it looks like on the front. This is the toile. If you've ever bought fabric, you probably know what toile is. I don't even know how to describe it. I meant to look up the definition, but it's like almost like a monochromatic pattern like this. I have it in my house. I love it. And on the flip side is a grid. You guys know I'm going to go for a grid every time. Love it. We're going to use that grid, and we're going to use, here's another one. We're going to not use this one, but I do like it. This green Mossy Meadow pattern is a great masculine pattern. And then you've got like a stripe, I don't even know how to describe that, a little stem that makes a stripe. This is the other one we're going to use. This is my favorite of the whole pack, that pumpkin toile, and it's got like a nice gray tone monochromatic on the back. And then this one, I didn't use this one, but I sure am going to try to use it, a Cajun Craze toile with a great stripe, which I'm using on my next project. I'll have a series of videos using this suite, so make sure you check them out here on YouTube. Okay, so let's look at the card we're gonna make. It is, I don't know what you call this, but you cut down the card front and then you add another smaller piece, and it gives you a little peek of that toile back there. Now you'll notice I have a boo-boo on this one. Let's not do that this time when we make this card. We're gonna do some coloring with Stampin' Blends, and we're gonna use this die right here to make that piece right there. Okay, let's start with our stamping. We're using Very Vanilla, and the reason I'm using Very Vanilla is because this paper doesn't have white in it. It has Very Vanilla. Most of our papers these days do seem to have basic white, but this one is vanilla. So make sure you look at that. Oh, did I cut my paper big enough? Let's see. Oh, I did. I shouldn't have said anything, and then I would have looked like I knew what I was doing. All right, now I'm gonna zoom in the camera so you can see the coloring. Here is all of the colors that I've pulled out. I'll tell you, I don't think we're gonna use all of them, but I'll tell you as we go which ones I'm gonna use. All right, this is a really busy image, and it does take some time to color. I stamped it in Memento Black. That's the color you wanna use when you are using Stampin' Blends, which are our alcohol markers. They are my coloring medium of choice. I do love to watercolor, but I'm always going to go for the Stampin' Blends because they're easy. Now I'm going to take light Cajun Craze and color this first pumpkin. I'm going to just go completely over it with light Cajun Craze. Now the artist has given us a hint about shading, and it's all these little, whoops, I already got out of the lines, all these little marks, these little chit like that. I don't know what to call them, but I do know how to make a sound effect for them. So I just like to take my marker and add in some darkness. Now you would have darkness around the outside edges like that as well, and along the bottom. Now you can use your dark, but I'm just gonna stick with my light because I don't want it to become too dark. Now I'm gonna take light pumpkin pie, and we'll do the other pumpkin in the back. And you guys probably know, if you're familiar with Stampin' Blends, there is a bullet tip and a brush tip. I like to use the bullet tip mostly because I feel like I stay in the lines a whole lot better. And when you're coming down here around things that are small and very detail oriented, you definitely want to use that bullet tip. But then you can take your brush and use it to color big spaces like this. This is light pumpkin pie. Did I say that? I can't remember. But again, the artist who drew this is giving us hints about where we should do some shadowing, wherever those little tick marks. So now I am gonna take my dark this time and really add some color to those tick marks. There would also be color, or shadow if you will, around the ridges, okay? So I'm just gonna do that like that. And then I'm gonna come back with my light and just kind of blend all that to the top. The top would be lighter than the bottom because there would definitely be some shadow from all this other stuff. Okay, let's take Darling Duckling. Darling Duckling is one of our new colors. It's an in color, and it is a greeny yellow. It looks different every time I use it because it's whatever color's next to it either makes the green come out or the green doesn't come out. So play around with yours and see what you think. I feel like it's a good fall color. So I'm gonna use it for the corn and for that gourd. The gourd could be green as well. You know, we go to a pumpkin patch here where all the pumpkins and things have been brought in. So I don't know where our gourds come from, but they are mostly green. But I wanted to use the yellow, so I went with the yellow. Okay, so now for the leaves. Now, one thing to notice is that I can see that my pumpkin pie has kind of creeped down into the leaf because I used a lot of ink. So be really careful not to oversaturate your paper. Luckily, we're going over the leaf with a dark color and I can just color right over it. But I have a heavy hand when I color and I tend to just keep adding and adding and adding. So keep that in mind when you are coloring. I especially find that that happens on paper that isn't our basic white. I don't know if that's just a coincidence or if that's, if that's something that is everybody else notices or whatever. All right, let's use pecan pie and we'll color in this last leaf. Now, the tricky part here is going to be to color in these little stems. They are thinner than the tip of our marker. So what I like to do is just kind of brush up, kind of tap the color in. I want it to be as narrow as possible. If you still have Stampin' Write markers, which have now been discontinued, although at the time of making this video, some are still available. You can take that has a little bit of a thinner tip. You can try coloring with those. All right, and then I'm just gonna take my pecan pie, too many pies, and color that in. All right, last but not least, I'm gonna take my crumb cake dark and color in the husk. Probably light would have been better now that I'm seeing it. It's pretty dark. I've colored this image now 3 different times, and I think I use different colors every time. So there's no right or wrong. These little probably could be yellow. They almost look like little hay or dried grasses. Okay, there we go. All right, let's move all of that out of the way and bring over the cut and emboss machine. Now we have a die for this. Thank goodness, right? Because this would be this would be a hard one to fussy cut. I don't think I would even attempt to fussy cut this one. That's why Stampin' Up! Was like, yeah, our friends definitely need a die for this one. All right, now if you don't want to die cut it, you could just stamp it straight on your paper. But I like to die cut and pop things up. Now notice I had to turn my die. Oop, I missed one down there. Okay, we'll color it in just a second. Notice I had to turn the die to find where it fits. And then you want to look at all your points and just keep moving it until everything is fitting in the frame. Another thing you can do with a die that's this, detailed around the edge is to cut it out of a dark colored cardstock. Then take the negative space of your dark color and put it around your image. I find that that helps frame it, and then you can just set your die down in there. It seems kind of silly, but I promise you, it makes a huge difference. Sometimes when the dies are hard to, determine. Okay, now we're gonna do something else. I wanna show you, let me get my, we're gonna get a piece of pecan pie over here that I have cut down, if I can find it, 3 3/4 by 5. And we're gonna cut this very detailed die out of here. That's what we're gonna use here. And boy, I'm not even gonna attempt to apply glue to this because I would make a gigantic mess. So I'm gonna take an adhesive sheet and we're gonna turn it into a giant sticker. Now that is gonna make it a little more work to cut, but I think in the long run, it's worth it because there's no way I could glue that down without getting glue everywhere. All right, so cut out your adhesive sheets. Okay, and the adhesive sheet is gonna turn this into one giant sticker. All right, now also I wanna point out every edge of this is a cutting surface. This die is a workhorse. It's gonna have to do a lot of working for us. So what I have found when I have a die like this, I put it face up, so cutting surface up, and then I put my paper right on it. You wanna make sure it's straight. That is one thing you gotta make sure of when you lay it down. All right, this provides more pressure. We've added another layer onto our cardstock, which is requiring our die to do even more work. But when you lay it flat like that, it cuts. It has more pressure to cut. So I ran it through. You can see I went through 1, 2, 3, 4 times just to make sure. Now, this is where the tedious part comes. We're gonna work on getting all of those doodads out. This is the die brush attachment for your take your pick tool. And I'm gonna start by running it through while the die is still on there. Usually I just take the piercing part and just poke, 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 but this one, we really are it's gonna require some work, but it's so worth it. All right, so really get some elbow grease in there and we can kind of pull these out. One thing, because we put the adhesive sheet on there, some of the, what I call little doodads are gonna wanna hang on. They're little cling-ons. And so sometimes let's take the little piercing and we really just kind of wanna start working on them. What you'll find also is that when you start peeling off the adhesive, some of those doodads will just come along, but not all of them. So I really try to get the majority, because then once it's sticky, once you've peeled that backing off, then you've got everything sticking to your fingers and it's a mess, but you can see it's starting to kind of pull off there. All right, I think we got it. So let's clean up our mess because we don't want these guys, now that we know every single one of them has adhesive on the back, we do not want them staying around because we know that that will cause us a mess. All right, so now we have another piece that is the exact same size. And I'm gonna carefully pull off my adhesive. Carefully, I say, because all of these little, segments now are fragile. They're delicate pieces of cardstock that we have cut into tiny little strips. And so we want to just carefully, very carefully, you can use your take your pick tool to kind of help you pull those off too. Just, there we go. Now I've got 1, 2 hanging around. I'm not too worried about that because everything else is sticky. I do notice a little bit of adhesive. Looks like I went over the edge of the paper. So I'm gonna try to roll that to the inside. Okay, here we go. Now we're gonna carefully match corners. Okay, and just kind of lay that down and voila. I did tone on tone because I feel like when you start mixing patterns, let me throw all my trash over here. When you start mixing patterns with a die like this, I feel like it can get really busy. But when you do tone on tone like this, pecan pie on pecan pie, it gives just kind of a subtle texture that is really, really beautiful. All right, so now I have ahead of time cut out a very vanilla tag. These are new dies. that I feel like everybody needs. You're going to need these come the holidays. They're called pattern tag dies, I believe. I'll have them listed on today's PDF. And I'm just going to have this kind of over to the side, over to the right side. Let's get a couple of dimensionals. All right, so there we go. And then we'll take, if you'll notice, I'm going to put this on the left side. I've kept everything kind of muted. I wanted the colors of my pumpkins, my coloring job that I took so much time to do. I wanted them to just really pop off that card. So I used Very Vanilla Tag, just muted this beautiful pattern die. And then I'm taking this, this is our basic beige ribbon, and it almost looks very vanilla, doesn't it? I'm going to tie that on here. I don't shy away from big bows on my cards. I mean, when I had 3 little girls growing up in my house, every single one of them had a big bow. So I like big bows. That sounds like a song. Even my little tomboy, who's now a basketball tomboy, she's girly, but she would die if I tried to put a bow on her now. None of them grew up to be cheerleaders to wear bows, but that's okay. I got my bow fix in when they were little. All right, so now there is our little decorative piece. I didn't do anything to the back. And now in retrospect, I'm thinking a piece of DSP might be pretty there. I mean, we're really going all out for this card. All right, so what this is a 5.5 by 8.5 card base scored at 4 1/4. And then I cut off the card front so they just had 1 inch, just a 1 inch. And I've cut this designer series paper so that it's going to completely cover this 1 inch. Okay, so let's cover that. And look, it looks like I went a little bit long too. Why are my cutting is just never perfect. Just never perfect. So hopefully that makes you feel a little bit better if that's you as well. It's just never perfect. But that's okay. If I gave you this card, would you notice that my cutting was not perfect? Probably not. So just remember, handmade is not meant to be perfect. Okay, so see how I glued that on there? All right, now, it's almost a sin to cover this paper up. And you know what? I probably would have cut this 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm going to be very honest with you. The reason I cut it 4 by 5 1/4 is because I'm offering this as a kit. And if I cut them that way, I can get 6 out of a sheet. But if I was just making this for myself, I would cut 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it would completely cover that and you would see more of it poking out. So just because I can get more of it out of a sheet, I cut it smaller, and I feel like that probably does the paper disservice. So if you're making this yourself, cut it so it completely covers that background. You know what? Maybe what we should do, let's cut this piece down. So when you open it, you can see more of those pumpkins. I'm going to cut it. We have it at 3 3/4. Let's 3 3/4. No, 3 1/2. Let's go down to 3 and 4 1/2. We'll make it small. You know, I hate writing messages in cards. My dirty little secret is I hate writing messages in cards. So the smaller okay, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to pause right there. The smaller the paper, the less I have to write. I mounted this kind of crooked, I noticed. So I'm going to practice and see. See how it goes up a little bit? Let's see if I go down just a tad. Okay. Sometimes you have to practice. These cling mount stamps are going away. This is the last catalog offering that these cling mount stamps are going to be in. I know it's kind of controversial. I love cling mount because they stamp beautifully, but I like photopolymer, the completely clear, because you don't have that problem. You can totally stamp and see where you're stamping and you won't have that problem. So, you know, there's good and bad for both. Or not, I wouldn't say bad, but you know, negative, I don't know what I'm trying to say. You guys know what I'm trying to say probably. All right, let's add a couple of these. These are I threw away the packaging and now I can't remember the name. They have a fun name like striped something. I don't know. They're awesome. They'll be on the supply list. That free supply list is on my blog now. Go get it. I'll have all the supplies and the measurements. And there you go. Kind of a, oh, look, I did it opposite, didn't I? Kind of a little bit of an over-the-top card. No, I don't know. Yes, do you guys think it's an over-the-top? I mean, it takes some time. It's a special card. But I think, wow, what a beautiful card to send to somebody. Blessed to have you in my life. I'm going to have to figure out, I'm going to have to put some some dots over that one. Okay, you guys, make sure you check out my other Amber Autumn cards that I have on YouTube. The details are on my blog, free PDF. Let me know if you have questions. Happy stamping, everybody, and happy fall. Bye.